In this video, I'm going to share the 3 best pieces of information that I've learned the hard way throughout my muscle building career so you don't have to deal with them. Hey guys, my name is Taylor Sherping. I've been going to the gym for over 10 years, about 12 years now, ever since about 2012 when I was in 9th grade. I'm 26 now. I've also been coaching people on how to gain muscle and how to lose fat, and I've learned some really good pieces of information along the way. So I'm going to share with you the 3 biggest pieces of information that I wish I had downloaded in my head right away when I started to help make their muscle building process as smooth as possible. So let's start with the first point, and that's getting stronger in the gym. Being able to push more weight and do more reps is the main driver for muscle growth, but there is so much more to it. When I first started lifting, I always thought that generally the more that you lifted, the bigger you're gonna be. So I really chased PRs and tried to get as strong as possible and watch those numbers go up, up, and up. I got to the point where I got pretty damn strong, where I could bench over 300 pounds, squat over 400, and deadlift over 500. However, that caused a lot of issues. Obsessing over these numbers really did take their toll over time, and I ended up getting really hurt. And I really didn't think about that there's more to your body than just muscles. Although my muscles could keep up and they were healing great, my tendons and ligaments and joints and everything else really couldn't keep up, and I started dealing with a lot of back pain, knee pain, and shoulder pain that really stunted my development for the next couple years, and I'm still dealing with some of it now. Since then, I've really stopped obsessing over the numbers, even though I do track and still try to make sure that they go up. There are other factors that cause muscles to grow that I've really started to put more of an emphasis on. One of these is just causing metabolic stress, where really you just work the muscle and really try to accumulate a burn, getting a lot of acidic metabolites into the muscle that overall has shown to cause it to grow. And also another one that's really important that's been getting more traction as research comes out is that getting a full range of motion and a full stretch on a muscle. Now this will require you going a little bit lighter to really feel a full stretch, but holy crap, ever since I've started doing this, my joints and muscles have felt better and my muscles have been bigger than ever. And overall, just the amount of intensity that you lift with, just how hard that you hit a muscle instead of really focusing on how much weight you put on it, overall gives you a lot of muscle growth as well. Number 2, learn muscle anatomy, muscle function, and fiber orientation of muscles. So let's break each one of these down one by one. So starting with muscle anatomy, let's take a look at the triceps. So as the name implies, the triceps has 3 main heads: the long head, the lateral head, and the medial head, which sit underneath the other 2. Now here you might recognize that the long head of the tricep, it's much bigger and a lot beefier than the other 2 heads of the tricep. On average, the long head of the tricep almost makes up half of the meat on your upper arm. So really making sure that we target that muscle as best as we can to get it to grow will fill up our sleeves as fast as possible. So when looking at the long head, you can see that it actually differs from the other 2 heads because it actually attaches to the back instead of the upper arm. So in order to get that aforementioned important stretch for muscle growth on that long head of the tricep, it's actually important that we get our arms over our head to do our tricep extensions, as that will get the maximal stretch on this really big head of the triceps and get the most amount of muscle growth as fast as possible. So next, muscle function. Let's take a look at every bro's favorite muscle group, chest. So the main function of your pecs are to bring your arms out from your sides and across your body into what we call adduction. However, your chest also has a secondary function called internal rotation of your arm, where it contracts. It'll actually twist your arms inward, making your thumbs kind of point down. You can actually do this yourself. If you twist your arm in, you might be able to actually feel your pec contracting. Understanding the secondary function can bring your pec training to the next level, as if you're doing an exercise like the pec deck and you want to get a full big stretch on your pecs when you're all the way back, actually externally rotating your arms, because we know contracting and shortening your chest internally rotates. If we do the opposite and externally rotate at the end, we can get just that much more stretch on our pecs, and we can squeeze out just that much more gains out of each rep. And then third, understanding muscle fiber orientations, or the directions that they run. So muscles can only pull in the directions that the muscle fibers are running from. So understanding which directions the muscle fiber runs will give you a really big hint on how you can best hit each muscle group. So for this, let's stay with the upper chest, and let's say we're doing some low to high pec flies. Now the reason that these work is because it puts your arm at an angle from lower to higher. And if you look at the orientation of the upper pecs, you can see that they actually start low at your armpit and then travel up at an angle onto your collarbone. Setting up the cables to a point where you're not just going from generally low to high, but really focusing on setting the cables where your arm can actually travel up in the same exact line that your muscle fibers are traveling in your upper pecs are really gonna make sure that you're actually hitting your upper pecs without involving too many other muscles like the front delt that would take away from your pec gains. And the third best piece of information that I've learned is that managing your mental stress and mental relaxation is just as important as managing your physical stress. So I feel like most people intuitively understand that managing the physical stress that you put your body on the gym and making sure you get proper rest as to not overtrain is important. However, most people don't know that managing your mental stress can play just as big of a role on your gains. So when we experience basically any type of stress, our body releases a hormone called cortisol. So cortisol is just a normal part of daily life. It helps you get up in the morning when you will go work out in the gym and put your body under that physical stress, which is a good thing. It does produce some sort of cortisol. However, long-term and chronic exposure to cortisol can have some really negative downsides for your gains, such as decreasing the amount of muscle that you gain and retain, lower anabolic hormones like testosterone, and causes an eating response for some people, like stress eating, and that can cause some unwanted fat gains. So there's a psychologist, scientist dude named Hans Sinus? Anyways, I can't remember. We'll just call him my boy Hans. And he came up with this theory called the general adaptation syndrome, where the body can only adapt to so much stress at once. So scientists are finding that stress in the body kind of all stacks up regardless of which type, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. You can only deal with so much given stress regardless of the type per given day. To illustrate my point, let's go over a overly simplified thought experiment so hopefully you can understand better what I'm talking about. So let's say on your average day that you can manage 100 points of stress on your system. Now let's say throughout the day you have certain responsibilities that put stress on you, such as killing your workouts, getting a full range of motion, lifting hard with a lot of intensity, and let's say that adds 50 stress points onto your system. Then you go to work, every job has its stressors, so let's say that adds 10 stress points for a total of 60. And then you also have school on top of that with assignments, projects, tests, and that on a daily basis adds 20 points. So on this average day, we're at 80 stress points and our body is able to recover and handle from 100. So on each day, we're able to fully recover from the stress from this day. However, let's say there's some changes to your life that adds a little bit more stress. Let's say you got a brand new boss and he's kind of a jerk and he's always yelling at you. So job goes from 10 stress points per day up to 30 stress points. And for school, finals are coming up. You need to pass this next test in order to pass the class. So your stress goes from 20 all the way to 40. And on top of that, you've been having some fights with a significant other of yours or a really close friend. That adds an additional 20 stress points on top of that. So why is this important for our gains? So remember, we can only recover from a total of 100 points. So if we bring our chronic stress levels each and every day up to 140, we're still gonna have a remainder of 40 stress points left over. Now, these remaining stress points means that our body can't recover from the gym as well as it used to be able to, because now it has to deal with this extra 40 points of stress. And you might not just be able to push yourself even as hard in the gym, also stunting your gains due to that extra stress that you're carrying. So to manage with these extra 40 points of stress, really take some time to chill and just veg out and relax and forget about the world. Giving yourself a little bit of time, at least an hour each day completely to yourself, just relaxing, can take that extra 40 and bring it down a little bit lower. And if you're dealing with stressful situations that are out of your hands, life just happens, I would recommend learning some stress management techniques or really just talking it out with somebody and really just make it so that usually a 40-point stressor, if you learn to manage it better, you might be able to knock that down to a 20-point stressor and keep your stress overall below the threshold. Also, overall, if you're carrying too much cortisol and too much stress, that can really impact your sleep, and sleep is where your body recovers and everything, and that's just such a big topic and so important that it just merits its own video, so we'll talk about that later. If you found this video helpful, click on this video right here where I go over more pieces of information that I think everybody should know, just rapid fire style. There's like 40, 50 points in there that you can learn from, so go ahead, click on this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.